So I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of an introduction to what I'm going to be sharing. So I'll be covering who am I, then we'll move on to key terms, then we'll dive straight into the findings, and I'll read you an extract from my creative piece to finish. So who am I? Why I propose this research? I'm a neurodivergent researcher, and my research focuses on ascertaining whether neurodivergent perception can transfer itself into creativity in the arts, specifically creative writing and performance. So my project involves interviewing neurodivergent creatives, so authors and performers, while producing my own writing, Curious Case of the Cat in the Headlights, written in a style I've deemed neurodivergent. So creative writing and story making can be viewed more akin to a craft or an art, whereas ordinary or standardized academic writing can be more characterized by format and structure, as its purpose is to clearly communicate an argument or an idea clearly. So creative writing has more of a potential to be flexible and abstract, and grammatically it can be reflective of speech and perhaps thought. So it doesn't need to be constrained by the same level of linguistic, grammatical and contextual rule as formalized writing and speech. So that's the premise of my research. Before I go any further, I'm going to just tell you what neurodivergent means, because otherwise this whole piece won't make sense. So neurodivergent is a non-diagnostic term. So it's a term referring to somebody who has a diagnosis, but it's more of an identification. It's associated with politics and culture. So neurodivergent, it's an umbrella term for dyslexia, ADHD, autism, Tourette syndrome. So these are things that somebody is born with, and they are deeply linked to their identity and their character and the way of thinking and perceiving. The term neurodivergent sometimes encompasses mental health differences such as OCD, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder. However, the main distinction between the two is that neurodivergent is something that somebody is born with and is seen as positive to somebody's identity, rather than a mental health condition somebody acquires and is normally quite distressing, and somebody doesn't necessarily associate it with their personality. For my research, I recognise that being neurodivergent with mental health difficulties influences my perception at the same time. So for me, they're linked, and I use the abbreviation neurodivergent/MH individuals to recognise the distinctions between the two, but also some of the overlaps. So neurodivergent progressions. So neurodivergence emerged in politics in like 1980s, 1990s with the survivors movement and Mad Pride, and not so long ago, the Neurodivergent Labour Manifesto was created. And this is all very interesting in itself, but my research focuses more upon arts and culture, though the politics does affect the sort of arts, culture and literature that neurodivergent people produced. So the autobiography that was sort of pioneered by Temple Grandin and Donna Williams in the 1980s, and I'm looking at this genre, and I want to broaden it, and I want to look into the possibility of neurodivergent literature with neurodivergent literary theory to support it. So yeah. Akin to feminist and LGBT movements and how they've progressed into culture studies, this research seeks to establish the neurodivergent movement within literature and performance, and it discusses the possibility of recognizing neurodivergent trends and aesthetics within these disciplines. So one of the bases for my research is psychology, and it has already, within this discipline of psychology, that neurodivergent and mental health differences leads to linguistic difference is already considered fact or proved. However, the research predominantly focuses on language deficit, not difference. and it's not being directly extrapolated as relevant to art, literature, performance, or culture studies. So here I've got a few neurodivergent diagnoses, and you'll see that most of them are characterized by linguistic difference, or part of them are characterized by linguistic difference, such as dyslexia that affects both written and spoken language, as well as language processing. You've got Tourette's syndrome, which is a condition characterized by linguistic tics produced by the subconscious. And as for mental health disruptions, a number of studies suggest that the conditions are characterized by altering linguistics. So I'm looking at how this can be used within creative writing, but my research looks at difference rather than deficit, and it focuses upon how these differences could be utilized within performance and creative writing, such as the possibility that dyslexic individuals have strengths in free word association, or that autistic individuals might enjoy sound equally to meaning. And yeah, how would this affect somebody's writing and their aesthetics? So what's my question? Do or can neurodivergent authors present differing writing and performative aesthetics and styles which are characterized by neurodivergent experiences and or processing difference? So, in a nutshell, if neurodivergent people, artists and performers think and perceive differently, could they create differently? So this is what I've been doing my interviews for, and asking neurodivergent artists about. So this is what I've ascertained, and from my interviews and my research, I've put together 6 categories. I'm not going to read these categories out word for word. I'm just going to give a summary, but though if you're interested, I'll make this PowerPoint available. So the first neurodivergent influence is process or reason for creation. So neurodivergent individuals suggested that they created art for different reasons. One being that they found the act of creating as important as their output. And this could be because they're creating as a way to stim, or as a way to explore certain ideas or concepts safely. It can also be a way to escape from sort of some unpleasant socio-political realities that neurodivergent people face. So these reasons for creation can lead to non-standard creations existing, and create its own kind of aesthetic. So number 2 is lived experiences influencing sense of self and perhaps humor. So many individuals have had many neurodivergent individuals have had experiences that neurotypical people even have not. So some being societal and institutional prejudice, the experience of masking, special educational settings. So these experiences can lead to neurodivergent individuals having a different sense of self and how they relate to others, how they fit into community, and this could affect their writing and their narration style. Sense of humor can be influenced. Some use it as a defense mechanism. You might find elements of humor where others do not because of the experiences they've had. And this constant masking can give or lead to some quite apt or absurd observations to the society that they are constantly analysing. So this can influence writing style as well, I found. So number 3, cognitive processing and perceptive difference and or linguistic processing difference. So these are differences sort of more neurological. So if people are experiencing sensory differences, synesthesia, linguistic processing differences, then this could change how they wield language. So perhaps using repetition, perhaps mixing words together to make new words, having more colloquial or spelling differences. So this could also affect neurodivergent aesthetics. So Number 4, communication differences. So a lot of neurodivergence, like in psychology, or a lot of diagnoses are described by communication differences. So if somebody's communication is different, and if writing, speech, drama, performance is a form of communication, then this could be an aesthetic in itself. So Daniel Oliver, he's a dyspraxic performance artist, and he theorizes that neurodivergent people experience more awkward situations, and he's performed a he's performed a show upon this, and he has a philosophy called Awkwards, which is based around this awkward sense of humor or awkward feeling that neurodivergent people sometimes carry around with them. So number 5, experiences of fluctuating mental health. So unfortunately, a large number of neurodivergent people have experienced mental health difficulties, and quite repetitive or quite severe ones. And this can also affect how somebody speaks, how somebody thinks, and how somebody uses language. And this is very well shown in Emma McBride's A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing, which writes in a sort of non-linear, chaotic style to represent the sort of feelings of PTSD and confusion. So number 6 is experiences of disturbance. So living in a society more predominantly set up for neurotypical standards, having different experiences and fluctuating mental health differences can mean that neurodivergent people face high amounts of disturbance, emotional, situational, physical, and mental. So it could be that this disturbance reflects itself within some neurodivergent people's creations, performance, and writing, with it perhaps being more multimodal to reflect their perceptions, or it might be a way for neurodivergent people to channel or process the eclectic world around them. So before I read a segment of my creative piece, I just want to go over some of the distinctions in my research. So neurodivergent literature and performance. This is literature written exclusively by neurodivergent individuals, authors and performers who identify as neurodivergent. Literature or performance on the topic of neurodivergence. So this is literature and performance that might detail neurodivergent issues and explore topics of neurodivergent art and creativity, but is written by neurotypical authors. So it's not neurodivergent literature, it's literature on the topic of neurodivergence. So what my research is on is the blue one, Neurodivergent Aesthetics, which is the possibility that a number of neurodivergent creative writing and performance pieces could have certain structural, linguistic, and or contextual similarities which are reflective of neurodivergent perception and processing. So this research also recognises that neurodivergent aesthetics can be split into their own 3 categories. 1, authentic, produced by neurodivergent writers intrinsically. 2, crafted, produced by neurotypical writers who attempt to capture or impersonate neurodivergent perception linguistically. And then crafted and authentic. So this is produced by neurodivergent writers who also consciously write and perform in ways which are reflective of being neurodivergent and or having a mental health difference. It's also important to note that not all neurodivergent literature and performance will have neurodivergent aesthetics. My novel, The Casual Case of the Cat in the Headlights, its style is the 3rd one, so it's both authentic and crafted. So I've used elements of my own thinking, divergences, and my own experiences with mental health. And then I've mixed a bit of fiction, and then I've personified some of that word usage. So The Casual Case of the Cat in the Headlights uses a range of different linguistic aesthetics which have stemmed from my research. The main character, Tammy, is a neurodivergent protagonist who also suffers with mental health difficulties. And in this section, she reflects on some of her own views upon diagnosis and diagnostic binaries, and how they challenge her existence and experiences. So I will now read my last chapter, chapter bookshelves. Chapter bookshelves. The Gift of Dyslexia, great book. Bravo, bravo, so insightful. The Gift of Autism, very, very progressive. Yes, yes, it is. Bravo. The Gift of ADHD. Isn't that just autism and dyslexia on speed? Does it need its own separate book? The Gift of Dyspraxia. Isn't that just clumsy autism or clumsy dyslexia? The Gift of OCD. Is it? I mean, you can't really wrap up shit and put a gift tag on it, can you? The Gift of Manic Depression. No, sorry. We don't call it that anymore. Sorry, no, I mean bipolar disorder. Well, I feel that I'm very creative when I'm at high, don't I? Yes, yes, I do. But when I'm on a down, a low, that's not a gift. No. The gift of borderline personality disorder. It literally has the word disorder in the name, doesn't it? But isn't that just lesser autism? Isn't that just a female diagnosis with a side of mental health? But did they, whoever they are, the authors, the readers, the doctors, know? Did they know that lots of people with autism have OCD? Lots of people with OCD have autism. Lots of people with dyslexia are autistic or have ADHD, and lots of people are dyslexic and autistic. Autistic women, they can have diagnoses of BPD, borderline personality disorder, or bipolar disorder. Both, yes, both. Lots of people who are dyslexic have OCD and or autism, and they, yes, lots of them, especially the women, might have anorexia, body dysmorphia, and or bulimia, and lots of people with anorexia and body dysmorphia, health self-harm. Lots of people with manic depression. Sorry. I mean bipolar disorder, self-harm. Lots of people who are autistic, self-harm. All of these diagnoses, all of these experiences overlap. Suicide, yes, suicide. It overlaps too, yes, definitely. But then it stops overlapping. Yes, after suicide, it stops. Lots of people with mental health problems. Yes, lots of people who are neurodivergent have feelings, had feelings. Yes, they do. Yes, lots of them have been bullied, are being bullied. Lots of them have been isolated, are being sacked. Many of them assaulted. Yes, they have, more often than not. Yes. Why does the autistic feel sad? Because they've been sexually assaulted. No, silly. It's because autistic people are prone to depression. Why? Why don't they ask? Yes, why don't they ask why? Why does the dyslexic have low self-esteem? Is it because they couldn't spell isolation? Is it because they couldn't spell rejected or minimum wage? No, I don't think it is. Oh, I know. Is it because they couldn't file laughter, couldn't process bullies' laughter because there was just too much to alphabeticalize? A is for antisocial, A is for abnormal, A is for vulnerable, A is for aborted at birth, A is for abrupt, A is for absent-minded, A is for abrasive, A is for abused, A is for absurd, A is for abyss, A is for addicted to diazepam. A is for affliction, A is for aggressive, A is for annoyed, angry, anxious, awkward, apathetic. A is for awful. Should we move on to B? Should we? Lots of people are logical, creative, meticulous, and disorganized, and a lot of non-collected, unconnected, disconnected things too, as well. Also, some of these things, yes, some of these things are binaries. Yes. Like isolation can be separated from autism. Yes, even if OCD can't be. No, maybe, no. So what does that mean? What does it mean? It means that people don't fit on pages. That's what it means. Thank you for listening. And yeah, I I hope you enjoyed.